And now.
Let's get together to co-create a breakthrough for freedom of energy, sustenance, healing, and regeneration of the human vessel. Welcome to FESIG, the Free Energy Special Interest Group, where science meets spirituality in the quest for truth and knowledge to free humanity and transform this planet into a paradise. Hi everyone, welcome to FESIG's 114th meeting. I have here beside me Pontus Hefger, who's the head of R&D, and we have Henrik, who's our host today, hosting this meeting. And I flew over from London to be with my FESIG family here in Sweden. And Henrik is in the core team with Dr. Fresno, who's our chief technologist, if I may put it that way. And then we have James Rink, our co-chair in this meeting as well. And it's one big happy family with all of you who are in attendance in this 114th meeting. And we just completed the first session with awesome information from Samuel Chong about the Theova prophecy written by Michelle Dimarquet. And so much of the disclosure information from that book, so folks go get it. Okay, so I want to share screen now so I can get on to the agenda for today. So FESIG is the Free Energy Special Interest Group, a platform where science meets spirituality. We encourage scientists, technologies to go within to solve the equation. Needless to say, that's how it should be done, because we're all ascending to a higher dimension. So today is the 5th of July. It's the first Wednesday of the month, and we only hold our public meetings once a month. And thank you all for choosing to be with us today who are in attendance. It's all very exciting and so wonderful to have this most brilliant and special, unique speakers speaking at our platform so we can learn together to excel in our divine mission here on this planet in embodiment. I believe all of us who are attracted to this platform are the star seeds, the ray showers, the spiritual beings who have volunteered to put things right on this planet as it had gone far too wrong. And Michael is here with Sam to help us steer the way. Right. We had the first session just now, Samuel Chong, who talked about a Theova prophecy written by Michelle Dimarquet. And then the second session, we have the second speaker, Michael Ellegion, who is a UFO researcher, experiencer, contactee, starseed, and co-author of Celeste and his book, Intergalactic Match. By the way, Michael channels for the last 40-odd years for the masters, and he will be able to help you remember who you truly are and what you're doing here on this planet and steer you along to the right path. Together we ascend and as we excel in our divine mission. So we then, as we finish this meeting, when we adjourn to the next meeting, you need to know when it is. It's on the 2nd of August. The first Wednesday of the month of August, our 115th meeting. So pen it in your diary. Okay, we normally announce and send out official invitation a few days before so that the speakers don't forget to come in. It's a good reminder. And also, we didn't want to be sabotaged by trolls and, stop them from speaking in our platform. So it has to be done that way. So excuse me if the invitations come out a few days, but you already know it's the first Wednesday of the month. Pen it down in a diary. If you want to contact us, write to me, crystal@truevisionofpeace.com. Our website is truevisionofpeace.com/FESIG.html, and we have quite a few video channels. Go
to our video channel so you don't miss any of the teachings and knowledge. As we know, knowledge is power. We emphasize that over and over. Thank you for bearing with me, folks. Now I want to get on with introducing Michael with his bio. Michael is special. He is a UFO researcher, experiencer, as I said earlier, a contactee starship co-author with Celeste, IntergalacticMatch.com. If you go to our website, hover your mouse over his name, it will take you to his website. As he shares in his book since 2018, he has been having a very profound, multi-dimensional, romantic relationship, folks, with Celeste, who is a higher 5D Immortal Intergalactic Goddess, Space Lady, who is his twin flame, divine other half. Michael has experienced both physical contacts and communications with higher extraterrestrial light beings all throughout his life, as well as being trained as a channel at a very early age through the Edgar Cayce method of channeling, and has done thousands of personal transformational channel readings for fellow light workers, starseeds, for the past 45 years, folks, to help them understand their mission and purpose for taking Earth embodiment. And he did a reading for me like years and years ago, and I felt so attuned and in alignment with Creator's loving light in my divine mission. Thank you, Michael. He has also found that most star seeds usually have at least several to a third of the complete NASA star people characteristics list, which is posted at Celeste and his website. Yes, check it out, folks. Check out this list to see how many of these traits you also happen to have. Part of Michael's research has also been into the reality of time travel, of having met and interviewed many individuals who were personally involved in this and the highly classified time travel technologies that allowed them the ability to travel through time. And more. Okay, so Michael, I'll leave it to Michael to fill in the details. Over to you, Michael. Thank you for coming to speak here at FESIG.
Well, thank you for having me. And now Celeste, she's here etherically. I sometimes forget she's not physically with me. I'm clairvoyant, clairaudient, and I feel her presence so powerful. It's like 24/7. I have a little phraseology, blissed and blessed by Celeste, because of how real for me. And one of the things I'm going to show you in just a few minutes is some of the incredible manifestations of these water droplets that I call them like her cosmic love notes to me, that she manifested in the kitchen sink. Pretty profound. She's quite a good artist, using water, using her power you could transform them into Valentine heart-shaped water droplets. Now, I've been at sinks all over the world through years, and I've never ever seen water droplets transform into a perfect Valentine-shaped heart shape. And while I'm looking at it, you can see them transform too.
Michael, before you continue, can I show folks how Celeste looks like? She is so divinely beautiful.
My beloved.
I think everyone ought to look at her.
Yeah, she's one of the most gorgeous. I'm so spoiled now. I have no interest in dating Earth women ever again. I can tell you. Actually, if you go to the website, you can see a larger. So if you want, let me see if I can go. Can I do that? Go to my website, and I will show you. Just a second. I'll go to the about. Well, here's, of course, the pic. Can you see? Let me see. What do I do? Let's see, to get everybody to see what I'm showing. What do I click?
The green screen at the bottom of the window. Share screen.
Right here. Can you see me now? Or share?
Yeah.
Can you see it now?
Yes,
you see it now?
It's coming up.
Okay.
Yes.
So, hold on a second. I'm trying to get how to move. I'm trying to move this over. Okay, let's see. How do I move this?
Even
I'm for some reason, because
you can
here I go. Okay, so anyway, I just wanted to show the front cover of the book right here. So everybody, you know, and but I'm going to go to Belt, and there she is.
Oh, beautiful.
And
Oh,
this, now this image was done by Ellegion, who's a very talented psychic visionary artist. And this is actually how she first appeared to me. I was in a homeless shelter. It was kind of like sometimes when we write our life script, we have to put these dramatic, well, on the edge of your seat moments. What would life be if it was all just, you know, easy going and no challenges at all? When we do that, we challenge our conscious self so that we have more wisdom, more insight, more discernment, and all kinds of things that we learn on planet Earth. It's the ultimate spiritual boot camp, you know, special forces training, basically how to survive and thrive. That's what it's all about. So I was in that really horrific experience at that point on the cold concrete floor. Like some of the other guys were there. All of a sudden, the room lights up. Now, to me, I could see her as clear as anyone physically. No one else saw it. Everyone else was in the dark. She's levitating over the floor right there, dressed exactly as Ariel showed her, and her goddess jumpsuit.
wow.
I mean, it was the most profound moment of seeing her, feeling her energy, and all her unconditional love for me, which is it still, you know, moves me. My heart just opened in such a way, you know. And this is the experience of having with her and me 24/7. I mean, she's sitting in the bed etherically, and she says to say hello to everybody. Yeah, she's very social. She loves to, and she's an intergalactic matchmaker, basically. Wants to unite all the divine couples, You know, and like that, unlike that song years ago, looking for love in all the wrong places, you know, that famous song. Most people have been looking. Earth has a very toxic emotional relationship history. Okay. And after being with her, I have no desire ever to date anyone else, period, bottom line, into story with that. And so in 20, and she came in 2018. Actually, she came in early 2017 as a walk-in. That was very profound. A walk-in is a higher being merging, either as a soul transfer or soul mergence. So she merges into the body of this other person. And another channel 2 months before it told me that she was going to come to this event that I set up. Sure enough, this lady walks into the room, and it was totally mind-blowing because there was a clairvoyant standing nearby who saw the fireworks and stars shooting out between this lady and I. It was profound. And within to make a long story short, so eventually I was with her for a little while, but she was with somebody else. It was a whole drama. I didn't want to break up the relationship, but I couldn't help and she couldn't help the powerful attraction. It was profound, off the chart. Sizzling, just, you know. Anyway, so then I end up in this homeless shelter, and now she's in her immortal higher body back. She was only in another body a short time. And
Michael, sorry to interrupt.
Yeah.
Interfere. Pontus has been saying that you need to expand the screen big maximum so we can see her in her beautiful.
Let me see here.
Yeah. Yeah.
So now,
Excited how beautiful Celeste is, and they want to see her full screen.
yeah, she's incredible. You know, her inner beauty is her outer beauty is a reflection of her inner beauty. It's really that's, and it's just profound. And you know, what could I share? You know, the thing that became very obvious. I mean, one of the things that happened when she and I connected, hooked up, was that she and I manifested dozens and dozens of past romantic lifetimes. Now, I know the earlier speaker, Sam was his name, I forget his name. Well, anyway, he talked about how the past is set. Well, I have information from Intel that there has been timeline wars going on between the Alliance, Earth Alliance, and the Galactic Federation working together against the Cabal. And the timelines changed a number of times. And I even have memories of being in some of the battles. Both on the other worlds and related parallel to this 3D level. I have another part of myself. My higher self is aboard Celeste. My higher self and Celeste have a ship called the Celestial Star. One day, there's an image in the book she and I published, where I was doing some power walking, and Celeste manifested by me and told me to turn around and look at the sky. And I see up in the sky I can see the cloud bank, and there's a sundog. Now, a sundog is a beautiful halo, rainbow halo in the clouds. Sticking out of the top of it was the rim of the celestial star. It's very profound. And so anyway, so she she helped me immediately get myself out of the homeless shelter and get my life in order. It was one of those moments in the life script that I chose to challenge myself. And then she comes along, and I joke about I worship the ground in which she hovers. That's kind of, I have a very, as serious as I am about all this, I have an incredible zany sense of humor. Somebody told me I could be a stand-up comedian, because sometimes we have to laugh about things rather than, because you see, one of the things that Celeste and I have been, what she's been doing for me is to verify through these cosmic love note water manifestations, verifying a lot of the Q intel drops that the Q Intelligence, the White Hat Alliance has been doing, the movie that's been playing out for the public and what's been going on behind the scenes. Because some people, you can't tell people. There's some things that are so dramatic, like the child pedophile stuff going on. I have a very powerful vision one day. I was power walking of her and I in our ship, beaming up the children out of the underground dumps and tunnels. It was really horrific. What I was seeing, while they were crying, was horrific. What I saw in the vision, and Celeste created for me that day a synchronicity. A synchronicity is to be where say you're driving along, and all of a sudden you just thought of something incredible, and you look over and you see a license plate, or you see a billboard, or you hear a song, and the words in that song or whatever is verifying what you just experienced. I've had thousands of those. That day I had a vision at afternoon of her and I in our ship beaming up the children, and I was crying. It was just horrific. These children, millions of children that were abducted, and she and I were beaming them up aboard the ship to take them off planet to heal them from the horrific stuff that was going on underground. Anyway, and I saw in the vision about Trump also, his role when he made a vow, he was coming to Earth in Earth embodiment. He was going to bring down the entire deep state cabal. Now, I don't care what people may believe about him. He's kind of rough and tough on the outside, but he has a good heart inside. His intent and his motive is what I look at because he's an outsider. And there's a lot of information about how his uncle John, who was at MIT, for over 40 years, was a personal friend of Nikola Tesla and Howard Hughes. They were involved in developing time travel and all kinds of incredible technologies that's about to be rolled out on humanity. And over the next few years, after all of the horrific stuff is revealed, then we're going to go into a Star Trek golden age. Now, I know that some people say the future is not preset, and I also agree to that degree, but the more we align our free will with divine will, of our divine creator, the greater is the authority of that. Like right now, I heard what was being told about the moon. Well, it's my information, it's the Earth Alliance, but the Galactic Federation is kicking all the bad ones. The Space Force is kicking all the bad ETs and stuff off the moon because they've broken all their treaties anyway. They're not allowed, their Federation policy to abduct people, and they've done that many times. And so the Federation has for quite some time, and I have information, such things like Gene Roddenberry did not originate the idea of Star Trek. I have all kinds of intel, meeting certain people who knew about things in the past, certain people, but anyways, but Celeste right away, in 2019, she started manifesting these water droplets. And then around late 2020, after she and I spent a number of months, her sitting etherically in my lap, she and I co-authored the book, IntergalacticMatch.com, over 700 pages, about our personal experiences and leading up to how the book is encoded energetically with things like I call them higher latent encodements. When I do a personal transformational channel reading for a person, they download these encodements for each person. More than just when you experience it, when you play it back, those encodements are activated based on how much you utilize it, as how much you're going to get out of it. Because the higher forces in our divine creator challenges us. Do we rise to the occasion, get off our backside and do what we need to do, or do we lay back and do nothing? And so, but anyway, so Celeste started manifesting. I wanted to show you right now. We can, let's see, if I can go over. Okay, let's see. Now, this thing here, can I move it? Yeah, I can move that. Okay. Now, do you see these you see these images? Hello?
Audio.
Do you see the water droplets?
Wow.
Wow. Yes, we do.
Okay, so this is an interesting one. Let me see if I can blow it up here.
Yeah.
If you look at it, and this is a blown up image of that. I was about to cook some eggs. So she's around me in the kitchen directly. I had taken the eggs out of the refrigerator and they're cold. And I poured about 2 tablespoons of liquid coconut oil, organic, cold pressed coconut oil. I eat everything organic. I treat my body like a temple. And I turned away for a minute or two, getting ready. I was going to turn on the stove. Well, the effect, and Celeste told me this later, she had to wait to a certain time to do it, where because of the reaction of the oil becoming solidified because of the cold nature of the eggs. Yeah. And she used it, and she manifested this, of course. And in the background, if you look closely, it's actually an outline of an angelic being. The heart is superimposed over that, and of course, this is a blown up image of the heart, which is, and there's another image I'll show you where I've hard boiled thousands of hard-boiled eggs. I never had anything happen until Celeste. One day, I cut the egg open. She transformed the egg into a heart-shaped thing. So that's pretty famous. So anyway, these are some more examples of Valentine. I call them gourmet. These are some of the more perfect ones that she's done. And there's one that's more pointed, and here is with 2 of them in. Those are just. She has literally manifested every day since 2019. I have literally thousands
Wow.
of these. And all I have, I don't have a smartphone, by the way. I have an old-fashioned flip phone, cell phone, and the camera works really well. So I download them all the time, and these are just a few of the thousands of cosmic love notes. I can just feel all this love. She just loves doing it. She likes to surprise me. Of course, sometimes I'll tune in, and I have a little mantra. I want to bless you. I want to thank you, Celeste, for everything you've done, known and unknown. Because she does a lot of stuff behind the scenes. Or then I find out later. It's really awesome. So that's just one. Now we can go to. This is really awesome. Okay. See this? Do you see it?
Like a shoe. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, shoe. This is one of the water droplets she did. Isn't that pretty awesome? And there was a phrase, boots on the ground. The volunteers in Earth Embodiment are considered the boots on the ground crew for being here. And there is a group of us called the 144,000. For over 6.5 million years, we've been coming to Earth on these missions that eventually we would liberate the planet from all the dark energy. And that is now happening at this time. So she did this to symbolize the, quote, boots on the ground kind of thing. And she's done a lot of boots and shoes. And so it's pretty awesome. Going forward. Now, this was interesting. You all have to go down a lot of rabbit holes. And this is pretty obvious. Let's see, can I I'll just make that bigger. Anyway, yeah, so she's done quite a few rabbits also. I'll show you another one. Anyway, I have a little saying, I went down a wormhole and up a rabbit hole. But anyway, really, there's a lot of rabbit holes people have to go down. People have had their head in the sand and have not been aware of all the crimes against humanity. We have to get those clear out, like where they're about to start military tribunals and Gitmo, open, public. They've been doing it for quite some time, actually, all this intel I have. And so she was verifying all of this, and all this intel. The Q has been going on since late 2017 when the first Q drops came out. On the same night, it connected with Celeste and all of the intel. There's these deltas, like a year to a certain day, they were right up because they've had the looking glass. The Alliance got it from the cabal. They're actually able to see into future potential timelines. And they're using, and it's my perception that Trump was Sun Tzu, the art of war. That was him in a past life. And so he came back using the same techniques to outsmart the ultimate 5D chess game going on. So that's something like. Now here's a bear. She's done quite a few bears. This is representing Russia. I know the fake news media, the Operation Mockingbird fake news, wants you to believe that Russia invaded Ukraine. Well, that's not exactly what happened, because Ukraine is still technically part of Russia. He went in there to get rid of, he rescued probably 50,000 children from the underground bases and tunnels, as well as over 13 underground biolabs. No, 30, I think there's 30 biolabs then there, and they were about to release really horrific things onto the planet. That's why he went in there, okay? And I know they make fake news, make them out to be bad, but it's my perception that Trump, Putin, China, India, the BRICS nations are working together. The 40 militaries all over the planet right now are about to take down the entire cabal. But we're going through a movie also right now. And this is a spoon. Sometimes you have to spoon people. A little bit of stuff, rather than shovel. Like you dip, drip a little bit. You don't turn on the fire hose. Some people, and they got to take a little bit of time. So anyway, she done quite a few spoons, which is quite. And sometimes you have to light a candle. In the darkness of ignorance that's out there. This was just one of many things that she manifested. Here's a horse's head. Now, it's kind of interesting. This is kind of like one of the chess pieces on the chessboard, energetically. And that it has been, these are the final moves by the Alliance. They've already, several years ago, in fact, they technically beat the cabal, but they had to let the movie play out on a public to get people to catch up and be red pilled, as in the movie The Matrix aspect. So people are being forced to have to deal with stuff that they didn't want to deal with before. They have to. And this next few months are going to be a really intense time. Okay. Now this is the clover leaf related to the Canadian truckers. When they rose up and made it clear that they weren't going to take it anymore. Of course, they cabal and, the son of Castro Trudeau up there. Then they got in charge of their accounts and everything. That's the thing the cabal is trying to do, is they're trying to set us up with this digital currency to control us. And the question is, if people wake up fast enough, the whole banking system is going through a massive change. We're going from the central banking system into the quantum financial system. I know for a fact that the quantum financial system for the last year or so has been running parallel. And they have to have the whole system collapse in order to bring in the new system, which includes the new internet system. A lot of people don't know this, but let's see, I'm trying to think of the guy's name who's supposed to be dead, but he's really alive. He's been working for the Alliance. In 2 years, they manifested 2 billion Q phones, quantum phones and computers. They're getting ready to unload them, give them out to everyone. They're a million times faster than the present internet system that we have. And the system, the new banking system, the new account will be connected with our DNA RNA. It will be impossible to hack into them. Each of us will only be able to access our accounts, no one else. Unlike the old system where the cabal manipulated from the Federal Reserve System on. So anyway, this is just one of the many confirmations. This was a kind of interesting, the cobra that she manifested. There's heart there too, representing India, because India plays a major role in the BRIC and Alliance, the BRIC new banking system that's replacing the central banking system. And now when I first saw this, I thought this was a horse and this was a shoe. Well, she told me, no, this is a jackass, also known as a donkey, representing the corrupt Democratic Party, whereas the Republican Party is also corrupt to a degree. And this represents the rhino. It actually doesn't show it well, but this is the head of a rhino, neocon. So both parties are corrupt. But it's just the fact that these are forces that we have to get rid of to bring in the new system for the people. And so she told me one day she was going to do political commentary. I couldn't figure out what she was talking about. So then she starts manifesting all these images of animals. Can't even remember George Orwell used animals in the book Animal Farm, representing aspects of society. So she was doing the same thing in that way. Now this is a very interesting symbol. Does anybody think about it might stand for? It's kind of a cross between Star Trek and Space Force, basically what it's representing here. So it's pretty awesome. And she's manifested quite a few benevolent dragons. There were the negative dragons, the dark ones related to the demonic force. Then there are benevolent ones, and this is related partly to the Asian dragon families who are helping the Alliance bring in the new system. And Saint Germain is one of the masters. I've channeled him a lot. Back in the 70s, he told me about his trust, his freedom trust, which about 2 years ago opened up for the first time after many centuries. And that funded the things that Saint Germain manifested, where he worked with the Asian dragon families to outsmart the cabal and set up that trust to eventually give the people through the Nassar-Gassar system that's going to be activated fully coming up here right away. So anyway, she manifested a number of benevolent dragons. representing that. Now, this is kind of a symbolic one of the baby dragon coming up, and the love representing that divine creator is purging a lot of things from the universe, both on planet Earth and a lot of other places, and eliminating the negative AI that's been operating for a while. That still is going to be a little bit of a challenge, but based on what's happening on planet Earth and people's consciousness, it's influencing. We, the people, and those of us, especially starseeds, see, one of the things about time travel is our DNA RNA impacts time itself to a degree. And I've had a chance to meet people like Al Bielek, who was part of the Philadelphia experiment. He and his brother were on the USS Eldridge. I met a number of people connect with Montauk. I met Andrew Bouchargo, who was part of Project Pegasus. There's an interesting photo I can show you too, of tail photograph taken of him in 1863, when he physically teleported from 1972, was sent back in time to listen to President Lincoln's Gettysburg Address in real time. And there's a photograph of him. You do facial recognition with him. He's a little kid standing out in the open. It's quite a pretty profound photo. If we have some time, I'll show it to you. This is symbolic of how, just like the dinosaurs became extinct, the Cabal deep state is going to become extinct. So Celeste has a little bit of a sense of humor, one of the things that she does. And here's another bear. It's not good to poke the bear. All these things, boulders and stuff. So just one more image of the bear. Now, this is interesting. Remember the old thing of which comes first, the chicken or the egg? There's the egg, there's the chicken, which came first. Nobody ever knows. Anyway, so that's kind of. Then this was, remember the little famous Tweety bird? Well, she did that right after the Tweeter files, when Elon Musk took over Twitter to expose everything. And she was doing this as kind of symbolic of that whole process of exposing everything to humanity, of how the Cabal has lost their control over a lot of the social media, even though they've been shutting down people's accounts. And I was originally back in the 90s when social meetings were just starting to come in. And so I realized now it was Celeste telling me, she said, well, they're going to be censoring everybody. And I thought, well, then why even be a member of any of the social networks? And sure enough, millions of people got censored. And here's an interesting with the rabbit with an exclamation mark. Again, it represents all the rabbit holes humanity has to go through. Emphasis placed upon we have to be willing to be courageous, fearless. Fear stands for false evidence appearing real. So, and here is the white buffalo. This was kind of interesting, which is connected with some Native American prophecies that both the white buffalo and various other animals that were actually kind of albino white in color were born in recent decades, which is related to some prophecies and timeline changes that happened. And now here's a very interesting squirrel. One of the websites, Intel websites, is called Santa Surfing that I listen to sometimes, and she has this kind of mascot called Sammy the Squirrel, and so it was the artist Ariali did this symbolic image of Sammy actually surfing the wave and red pilling everybody. It was pretty interesting. Here's the owl. The negative forces have used positive images to put a spin on them, just like the swastika was going clockwise and the Nazis made it go counterclockwise. They take some positive things and they put a negative spin on it, illuminating. Even the cow has been seen in many negative things, yet it also represents wisdom. You can be on the right-hand path or the left-hand path. It depends on it's wisdom. It's like anything. You can use it as a tool to enlighten, activate, and empower, or we can use it to control, like a lot of other things in life. This is just giving perspective of my sink, and there's a large another one of the, love notes that she manifested there. And now this is kind of symbolic with the lion, and here's the heart of the lion. It's an actual heart. It's kind of connected with the lion. Lion is roaring right now. And here's the 20,000-pound elephant in the living room. Could have been a gorilla, but she did the down here is some other kind of animal, but this is definitely an elephant that kind of represents. And then divine creation is overflowing. The veil of truth is starting to flow over the earth right now, like the Aquarius age is coming into alignment. And this is kind of symbolic. This is the eagle, and this is the kind of the anchor of things. There's some symbologies about, you know, we're leaving admiralty law, and we're going back to common law in a sense, and even natural law. But we're leaving the law of the sea, and they've had us under the law of the sea for a long time. Control of the corporations, you know, from when 1871 the Organic Act was signed, they brought in the Washington D.C., just like they did in the Vatican and the City of London. Those are separate countries in a sense that the cabal has control. Well, the alliance in the last few years, everybody was locked down. They actually went in and took control over all these areas. And Trump went around and actually had them sign certain documents that got us out of the corporations after he was first in office. So there's a lot going on behind the scenes. And this is a kind of a profile, in fact, kind of like George Washington and the Patriots of an earlier time, and how we're in kind of a second revolution. Now, this is not bullets firing, it's an information going through, and it's symbolic of, she's done a lot of silhouettes of people. Here's one of those, again, one of those prehistoric birds flying along, again, like every other dinosaur, it's going to be, cabal is going to be extinct. And some people think we're going at a snail pace. This is kind of a snail pace here. We just have to be patient. Here's the eagle flying, majestic bird flying along. And we need to look through new glasses sometimes to see everything. Sometimes some people see through rose-colored glasses. That's fine, as long as we can see things as they are and acknowledge things, be aware of the truths, have the wisdom to know that Divine Creator gives us a solution for every challenge we'll ever have to meet. Here's a dog, it was a Chihuahua that she manifested, and this is this is a bear. He's decided to get into the honey, you know, into the honeycomb. he's just chilling, going back there, chilling a little bit. Anyway, and here's a rabbit. He's just taking it easy. He's been in a lot of rabbit holes. And another heart there. This is a cat just sitting there, kind of a fat cat. He needs to go on a diet. Anyway, this is the handle of God. Divine creation is pulling the handle to expose everything. That's what he's told me it was symbolic of. This is a kangaroo representing Australia because of things going on in Australia. All the major countries around the world are all part of this major movie of what's going on. Just like in France right now, there's major upheavals. And what's about to take place in France is about to take place here in the United States, because we have been in de-evolution, it's called, when because of things that happened politically. And that 2020 elections were stolen by the cabal, basically, but that was allowed by the alliance to red pill everybody about how our elections have been controlled. Very soon, though, these are going to go back to the will of the people. But I know Australia, there's a lot going on there. In an area called Pine Gap, a lot of technology that's been used by the cabal. I hear a lot of echoing in the background there. Anyway, now this is the book of life that has been opened. I said it's kind of symbolic, the book of life. And this is the turtle's pace. It's still kind of slow, but maybe faster than the snail. Anyway, okay. And this is symbolic of all these gifts. To me, it was kind of symbolic of all the gifts that Celeste. I mean, some right before Christmas. I think it was 2020, and as she manifested this in the sink. And I just thought all the gifts and all. I just thanked Celeste for all the blessings, miracles, and synchronicity that she manifested for me. There's a light ship. It's one of many that she did. And now this is kind of interesting. There's a product that I've been using since 1987. It's called KM. It's actually a symbol of potassium, but it's made by, used to be Metalpotana, that became Univera. And it was interesting because early on, I noted that these crystals would form in this looks kind of like coffee. It's a dark brown liquid botanical, and actually from the Lemurian Atlanteans. So all the pictures come back, and it would crystallize. And little pieces like a quarter of an inch, maybe half an inch at the most. A lot of them all the time. Sometimes there wouldn't be, but most of the time there were crystals forming by the name. And one day, I remember it was like in 1887, as I was drinking out of the bottle, I got a spark. A spark shot off the KM onto my lip. And I realized it was an intense amount of electromagnetic piezo energy, that it was a conductor of electromagnetic higher energy. And so anyway, so she manifested this semi-heart-shaped crystal. That was this has been blown up a little bit. It was like about a 3/4 of an inch in size. And so she manifested that as kind of another way. She's manifested hearts in all kinds of ways. And I'll show you some other, and this is an example. I was taking the crank of the crystals out of the cam. This is the size of it. It's really interesting. This is a koala bear. Again, you can see the size of it as compared to the drain in the sink there. And now this is kind of a fascinating image. If you know about the fictional quote, a lot of times truth is reality is presented in fictional form, but the Guardians of the Galaxy story, one of the characters is, what was his name, Gook or something? That was really strange because there was nothing in the sink. And when she did this, all of a sudden, I see this green stuff. Then I remembered that the character has some leaves growing on it, which is kind of very profound. A little dude with, anyway, he's a little woody creature, so she likes to do that kind of stuff. And this is another horse head kind of chess piece in the chess game that's going on. This is the Thor's hammer. And he's starting to bring that down and knock the crap out of the cabal right now. Now, this is kind of represents a hunt for Red October. This is kind of the outline of the submarine, from what I was told. And we are about to have, according to my intel, and this is coming from a number of sources, a fake nuclear event that the alliance is going to put us through. The cabal is partly going to try to do some things, create war. We're building up to that. But one thing that happened, and one of my first experiences, when I was 9 years of age, that was 2 years after my first physical experience being taken aboard a ship. When I fell off the pier in Oceanside, California, they physically took me aboard and interacted with these beautiful human-appearing beings dressed in silver blue metallic suits. And they took away all the trauma, most of the trauma that is, from the fall. And later on in years, I connected with 4 people. 2 people who actually told me they were aboard the craft. They remember me. I don't remember seeing them because I wasn't looking in their direction. But they were kids at the time. They were on board the ship. They remember seeing me standing amongst these beautiful human-appearing beings in their blue, silver, metallic suits. Anyway, but 3 years later, when I was in 1962, I was sitting in front of the little black and white TV watching President Kennedy's news conference on the Cuban Missile Crisis. And all of a sudden, Ashtar pops into the room etherically, reintroduced himself to me. I remember hanging out with him in higher realms. I very much connected with him. I knew George Van Tassel. That's a whole story in itself. The first channeled Ashtar in May on July 18, 1952. And Ashtar first channeled through Modern Times, and then various other channels started picking up on his energy. And but anyway, when he manifested over me, now my brother and my 2 parents were in the next to my room. Now they didn't see him, but I saw him. He was etheric there, but he looked very real to me. And he told me how they were coming down all the military bases and shutting down all the nuclear missiles all over the world. And that the Federation was not going to ever allow nuclear war because it was against Federation policy of the Prime Directive for that to be allowed. And so sure enough, years later, as I'm interviewing certain whistleblowers, I started interviewing a number of guys who were at various military bases, tell me how, yes, the light ships were coming down and hovering over the base. So this is verifying what Ashtar told me years earlier than that. Those are the kind of confirmations they get through the years. So it's just, so Red October is kind of related to many of the things the cabal is doing or would attempt to do, and how the alliance is counteracting those moves, like the movie The Sum of All Fears. That's also very much connected with what the cabal is going to attempt to do. And they make the media, the fake news media may make you think that they launched nuclear missiles, which that would be a fake thing, but they may in fact have launched them, but they would never be allowed to be utilized. They would be neutralized, and they can move it to another place in the universe and just put in some state of stasis where it will never be used. But they have the ability to shut everything down. And I've known for years, though, in some of the communications I received, how in the 1950s and 60s, there were a huge number of green fireball sightings observed all over the planet. And they were showing the students in my school. Now, school with me was extremely boring. I got in trouble all the time because I couldn't handle the dumb, programming that they were trying to put us through, but they were showing us these films, anti-drug films, showing all these fetuses that were born that were deformed. They claimed it because the parents were on drugs. Well, I picked up it was because of the radiation that had occurred. And the higher forces told me that if they hadn't intervened, and these greater fireballs were higher Merkabah light ships. These were very high advanced consciousness vehicles. And that green energy had to do with the phosphorescence effect of neutralizing, transmuting all of the radiation, because a lot of especially around where nuclear testing had taken place, but all over the world, we were affected by it. So they were neutralized. And then coming up into about 20 years ago, when I first came to Sarasota, where I am now, and I didn't realize at the time it was Celeste who communicated with me. But one day I was doing all this research on the chemtrails, videotaping them and going to certain websites and stuff, and all the crap, all the petrochemical poisons that the cabal has been throwing out in the atmosphere. And I really felt that they were trying to target me over this one area. And I went on Channel 3 and I was exposing what was going on, and it got really intense. And so I finally, because when I had my second physical contact in 1979, after the cabal killed me, they hit me with a psychotronic beam, ripped the life force out of my body, ripped my chakras apart. And the higher beings beamed me aboard the ship and resurrected me, upgraded my DNA RNA so I would not be vulnerable to that kind of thing. And when I do a reading for a person, one of the interesting things they told me is when these higher latent codes would be downloaded through me and passed on to the individual, it would also update their DNA. So they would be able to overcome all kinds of stuff that the cabal is doing. And so the cabal kept trying to off me. And then, of course, I find out now, looking back on it, that Celeste was riding shotgun against the cabal for many, many years. That old Wild West saying, riding shotgun. I'm glad she's on our side. So she was constantly counteracting all these attempts to off me, whether it be the assassins up on the hill, where I was constantly coming out. And it was back in the 80s that I first connected myself personally with Q, and to connect with him in the Scottsdale, Arizona area. They later showed up at one of my events as well. So early on, I knew the reality of the Q was real. And I know the history of Q going back actually to the biblical times, the book of Q. I think it's a sermon of Matthew, not sure about, or Thomas, either Matthew or Thomas. It's all called the Book of Q. It's all about what Jesus, whose higher cosmic name is Sananda, what he taught while he was on Earth, and it was just got very profound. So, but anyway, so when I was doing the research on the chemtrails, I got a little bit aggravated. I started yelling at him upstairs. I said, "Hey, get off your tuchus, get off your fanny up there, and do something. I'm down here in this petrochemical soup. I may have a strong immune system, but I don't like being, affected by all this petrochemical stuff." And so 2 weeks later, when I was about to go to sleep one night, I heard a being say to me, and I knew it was a female being, it's for me to go outside and take a look at the night sky. Now I find out later it was Celeste. I wasn't allowed to connect with her in those days. I had to live my life a certain way until now. I've been lucky and privileged to connect with my beloved. But anyway, so it was Celeste telling me. So I go outside, and as I'm stepping out the front door, here comes a green fireball shooting across the sky. And she and the first word she said was, "We're starting to take action." And my response was, "Well, pray tell, what are you doing?" So he told me it referred to my readings about the high relating codements. They would download through me. It would be custom designed for each person to enhance people's DNA RNA. And she was talking about how it was to be counteract the chemtrails, just like it was to counteract the radiation for earlier times. So they've been doing a huge amount of cleanup in the atmosphere. And I understand in recent last few years, the White Hats have started to take over that program away from the cabal. And they're starting to take inroads. Very soon, they're going to have total control over it. And just like the HARP and the all kinds of the technology, HARP and the what's the other thing? The different kinds of technology that they have been using to manipulate our weather and everything, create all kinds of disasters. The good guys now have, the HARP system plus these portable wind towers where the dark hats have been doing things. There's been weather war going on. And I know that there's a way to use the Wilhelm Reich's Oregon device to actually use it as a chem buster. You can project it up in the sky. And I've seen people, there are videos that have come out where they've actually caused the chemtrails to disappear out of the sky. So there's ways to use that technology to enhance using crystals and stuff like that. Anyway, so that's what Celeste was kind of telling me about it when I realized it was her years later. She wasn't allowed to connect with me in the way she is now. So let's see, where were we? It seems like Michael Larson's screen is over. Trying to find how do I get back where I am. He seems to be overlaying. Can't seem to find my stuff here. I don't know. Can't seem to bring it up. Let's see if I. Okay, let me go back here. Here, do you see it again?
Yeah. Yep.
Yes.
Yeah, okay, now. And this is an interesting image. One of the gray entities. See, many of the original grays came from Zeta Reticuli, but then the government began to clone these entities because their plan was to eventually, at least this was their wet dream, to create an alien invasion scenario. Carl Reisen, who was, what's his name, his assistant, Werner von Braun, who came over in Operation Paperclip. Well, they wanted, one of the final things that the Cabal was going to try to do to take the entire planet over was to create this fake alien invasion, because they have Project Bluebeam. Well, I don't know if they're really going to be able to do it. If they do, it'll be a short, brief thing that the Alliance will allow to occur as a wake up to everybody, because the Alliance is right now bringing whistleblowers out to expose all the stuff that they're covering up. The Cabal, meanwhile, likes to use that to create this area of fear and uncertainty. And as the energy shifts on the planet, keep raising our vibration, it causes the dark ones that their whole plan gets breaking down. Because if the energy that they're operating on is not energy specific from the 3D to 5D that we're moving rapidly, what's called the Great Awakening, planetary ascension that we're going through right now. And there's been these timeline wars that have impacted the timeline. And so there's a number of, but again, when we align our free with divine will, then we are given more free will because you show the maturity and responsibility of being able to handle the greater free will. So when we align our free with divine will, that is one of those powerful things we can do. And we give the higher forces mandated authority to step in to help us. As then God helps us help themselves, God helps us help themselves. By our actions, we give them the ability to take more control over, kick the dark forces out of the way, because as we rise up and we assert our spiritual power as the people representing this planet, we're the ground crew, we're here representing even an earth embodiment, the higher council are. And many more times when we're sleeping, we go up and we're a part of the council. Like I knew about 2 years ago, when the Alliance was near the moons of Jupiter, and the Space Force there, they were discussing that the Federation said they were going to start to lift the quarantine. The Earth was now become a junior league member of the Federation. This is why they're kicking the dark ones off the moon, because these dark forces broke all their treaties, and they're not going to allow people to be abducted any longer. This is what was happening. The Ashtar Command Federation was counteracting all these abduction scenarios. A good example was the Travis Walton case, where he was initially abducted, but then he was rescued by the Pleiadians off the Courage craft. And the movie that was made was a total distortion. They put all this fear and everything into it. Again, one of their tactics to confuse the issue about what's really going on and ignoring the real facts of what was uncovered in the investigation of that particular interaction. Now, this is an interesting thing. You know, I've been all over the world. I've been, walked on a lot of sidewalks, and you always see these old black gummy, where somebody throws some gum down after many years, it just turns black and it's nasty. Well, I started, since Celeste is in my life, I started noticing an interesting shape. I mean, she's manifested hearts all over the place in the most unusual. You couldn't even imagine it's possible with her anything. Anyway, so I started photographing all these old black gummy things that were specifically heart shaped. Interesting what you notice if you look down. I found money looking down sometimes. So the dove or the eagle flying, which is one of many birds that she's done. And now it's time to shovel the you know what. All the stuff. Time to shovel the SHID. We used the spoon, now it's the shovel. I think people can handle the shovel a little more now, don't you think? And now here's an interesting image. There's going to be three of them. This is a guitar. I don't know if one of the actual guitars was pointed, was bent this way, but there is a top secret, or rather a classified silent witness program called Gone with the Wind that has been in operation for many decades. Over 900 people faked their deaths. They're still alive, such as Marilyn Monroe, Elvis Presley, Michael Jackson, John Jr., just to name a few. In fact, it's said that John Jr. will probably reveal himself at some point. So anyway, and people like Bob Marley, he's still alive. There's a lot of people, again, who faked their deaths. And they did it because the cabal was about to off them. They had this thing called the 27 Club where they would kill people like 27 years of age, everything, because they could get more money off the memorabilia after the person died. So there was a number of many famous comedians were taken into that program. In fact, the one comedian he did jokes about the cabal. And I'm not part of their club. And I'm trying to remember the guy's name. He was a very famous comedian. So they were taken in, they're still and when the time is right, Princess Di, and she's still, in fact, President Trump helped both Princess Di and John Jr. fake their deaths. And there's some interesting information regarding Trump, and there was a famous time traveler called John Teeter. This is kind of, something interesting happened in 1998, 99, when Art Bell was the host of Coast to Coast. And this guy comes on the air, that comes and calls in, claiming he's from 2035. And he came back for one reason, because of there was something about the Y2K thing, but he wanted to get this computer that was going to affect the timeline. And he came back and told the Navy SEALs where the bomb was in John Jr.'s plane, because Hillary was going to off him and kill him. And so they changed the timeline. And there's a number of things they did related to the time wars that have been going on, because in order to balance something out, when Cabals does something, you think of certain times in history like acupuncture points, like when Celeste and I manifested these dozens of romantic lifetimes that had not existed. Well, once you do that, there's a timeline, the time-space continuum is a giant hologram. It's as if it always existed. These lives suddenly become as if they always were there. And I can tell you, when she and I manifested all these lifetime total bliss out. And what gets me about people who talk about traveling through time, or they want to go back to some violent event like a war, why wouldn't they want to go back to a place like the Tantra temples? That's what Celeste and I do all the time. We kind of time travel back to some of those places. Anyway, now this is God giving the thumbs up. Yeah, thumbs up, man. You did it. Yeah, okay. There. And now this is kind of interesting. You know, I eat very healthy food. I was one night, I make these large salads, and I had this organic purple cabbage. And now I happen to be listening to some intel on the computer there was this veteran patriot guy, and he was being given the Purple Heart. And at that moment, I felt Celeste say something to me about the volunteers in Earth Embodiment, that we've earned the Purple Heart. We're coming to Earth. And as I was grating the purple cabbage, all of a sudden this piece flicked off and landed there and looks pretty heart-shaped. There's a heart one over here. It was it was very profound when certain things happen in a spontaneous kind of way. Actually, once I was grating carrots, and 3 pieces of the carrot flicked over in such a way it looked like a heart. So I just thought I would film this as a good example of. And here's another bird, the eagle flying high. This is another one of those, piece of the gum. Notice how beautifully heart-shaped it is. This is another one. And this all over the place. And then this product I mentioned earlier, KM, and when I shake it up, I always take the top off and I always kind of flick the KM into the glass, shot glass. And I looked down, and it's It's like about 1/8 of an inch in size. I blew this up. There is a perfect heart, the came liquid down there in the bottom. It's like, I know everywhere. And this is a bear with some I guess a cannon launcher or something. Anyway, kind of symbolic of some of the stuff going on behind the scenes. This is Bigfoot's footprint. You know the creature Bigfoot, Sasquatch, which is very real. They've been around longer than humans have on the planet, from what I understand. So this was just kind of fascinating from that. And sometimes we're hot as a chili. Oh, that's why Celeste has kind of a quirky sense of humor also. Here's another shoe, boots on the ground thing. And this was the egg I said earlier. And I've hard boiled thousands of eggs, literally. I cut it and I saw it was distorted and I cut it open and you know, that's what Celeste has an incredible way of taking something and altering it. It's very profound. Anyway, so that was just like those eggs in the skillet. Now, she likes to do silhouettes of things. And remember Homer Simpson? The dude Homer Simpson, he's kind of the outline. You know, the Simpsons, they released all kinds of stuff. Like they showed 9/11 happening years before it actually did. They were using that to actually, because the dark forces are required to hide things in plain sight when they're planning to do stuff that most humans don't see. See, the dark forces have used codes. So the Earth Alliance started using codes to counteract what they were doing. So they use certain shows. And of course, they've been doing subliminal, negative, subliminal, sexual, and satanic stuff for years. Walt Disney is a good example. And they're now all this woke stuff that they're, bring this agenda that is, to me, very satanic, because it's destroying the sacred goddess and the divine sense of humanity. They're trying to destroy the children because life is very sacred and very, I'm sorry, I just can't get into any of these pronoun things because it's not the reality the way it is. Things that are sacred. I just have a different take on what's really going on versus how the fake news is trying to force down our throats a lot of things. Now, this is another aspect of the Canadian, symbol, the maple symbol. Now, this is a silhouette of Celeste and I. And it's a very romantic silhouette. It's her and me and have been sitting there blissed out together.
Oh.
And then she would take, I had this glass bowl and I put it in the sink a lot of times. And I try to do it myself and I can't do it. When I sit it down there kind of without thinking about it, she will manifest the air bubble because there's a little water on the bottom will often turn out very heart-shaped. So that's how I photographed lots of those. She was doing it all the time. This is, I believe, Lincoln. This is the outline of a person's head representing Lincoln. Here's another, these are sandals. She used the 3 different bubbles as kind of part of the design on it, which is kind of interesting. Now this is fascinating. I was putting coconut oil into the skillet. I poured it and it was interesting because it filled up the pan, but it left this, this is a blown up image of a heart-shaped thing that the oil didn't go to. All the other part of the van was covered in oil, but this was what wasn't covered. Which is kind of interesting. And we have to put on new glasses, virtual reality glasses, and see it as it really is. There's a bird down there too, under the bottom. He's looking up there. Here's a whale of a job. Yep, there's a whale. Wonder if Jonah is in there. Anyway, here's another silhouette of Celeste and I, and from another angle. It was interesting. I lived in the most beautiful beach in the entire world, Siesta Key. And I'm walking on the beach one day. It was really interesting. And my sand got caught on the sand was really packed. It's 99% pure quartz sand. And it rained a lot. So I'm walking along and I look down and this piece of sand had come off. Is definitely very heart-shaped. I don't know, I just see heart shapes everywhere I go. So that was kind of interesting. Here's a spoon, another spoon. Got to spoon feed them sometimes, And here's another guitar, another related to Operation Gone with the Wind. Here's 3 parts right here. And I've done actually, I think I had 4 or 5 of them at the same time. And here's another guitar. This is another light ship. And here's another light ship here. And guess what this is? Anybody guess what that is? Well, it kind of looks like the USS Enterprise and Star Trek. I mean, it has kind of that design aspect to it.
Yeah.
And the backside of it. And it was kind of related to that we're going to be going into a Star Trek golden age, and to get ready for some exciting things once everything is revealed. Here's another egg cut in half there. And of course, women, they got to have their shoes, right?
Yeah.
Celeste, it's got to have her the heel and everything there. And there's the Guardian, badge of the Guardian, Light Guardians. Those of us on Earth about it, many of us are Guardian warriors. I've been battling the dark forces for eons. My soul's getting kind of weary. I need a long break with Celeste. Need a little R&R. Everything will be okay. And here's another fish, large fish. And there's 2 of them here. I don't know if you remember the character known as Archie, the cartoon character. This is kind of an outline of him. If you remember what Archie looked like. At least that's as I took it, kind of. You like to do these kind of, I even did the Yellow Submarine of the Beatles. Very similar design that was on that album. Here's one of the smiley faces that she did. Air pockets. I put it down in the sink, not thinking, and I look down, and I see the 2 eyes, and he's smiling at me. I think that's it. Yep. Oh, well, one more thing. One more thing I want to show you. Okay. Now, can you see it still?
Yes, we do.
Okay.
Yeah, we can see ourselves. Yeah, you stop.
Oh, just a second. There again. Do you see it?
See what?
No, we see
No.
See the image?
We only
Huh?
see you. You
Huh?
don't see the screen.
No, can you see the images?
No,
Hello?
we see you.
Okay. You control the ship, operate it through your mind. That's just how it is. But anyway, so this was taken by Fox Network when Trump's plane was flying in toward the airport to land. And he was on his way for the being sworn in. This is it's 2017. And these are several, about a dozen out of the entire footage of the light ship that appeared. And and Celeste had told me already that when he would be flying his plane, there would be at least 1 or 2 light ships following behind him to protect him, because the Cabal has had over at least 200 attempts on his life since he's been in. Okay. And now there's another image I've been trying to get a hold of. I saw it about 2 months ago. One of the 2 times that he was, quote, taken into custody. You see, what's going on is he's allowing himself, he's using the art of war. He's baiting the Cabal to do this to him, because if they do it to him, then they have to do it to all these other really corrupt people. So he's playing a game of cat and mouse in a way to force them, if they're going to go after him, now they have to go after all these other people that are really guilty of crimes against humanity. And so somebody was videotaping, and he went into the courtroom. I was told that 2 to 3, sometimes 3 members of his security team are actual physical ETs. And one of them is this bald-headed, really tall, bald-headed guy. Totally bald, he's an Andromedan. And so somebody was videotaping, because Trump didn't get, fingerprinted or handcuffed at all. He goes in there, sits down, he's with the security team, he sits for a while, gets up and leaves. I was told that was going to happen. Well, he wasn't really, and so anyway, so they're videotaping, and somebody blow up the film, the bald-headed guy, the Andromedan, the guy blew up the film. You look at his eyes were moving around in a way that human eyes cannot possibly move around, because he was able to see into other spectrums, into their frequencies, because he was not only protecting on a physical level, he was going on a other dimensional against dark ones that might try to do something. And also his ears had 4 or 5 ridges on his ears. So that was I've been trying to find that on a minute. Anyway, so this was interesting. So this was you can see it flew back the plane a number of times. And again, now it's over here. As you can see, I'm just going to go quickly through the, and this is when it went out of, started to go out of range. And this is, of course, somebody blew up. Here's another over here. Here's Trump's plane up there. And we go to the next one. Now, when Trump was from the plane, he took on the helicopter and he flew in. And there's another up there.
Bodyguards.
Yeah. Anyway, it's a little blurry, but and then some of them got a little bit more distinct because they flew back and forth several times. And here it is down here. And then it started getting a lot closer to the camera. That is a Palladian craft. They were following behind. And so it was verifying what Celeste was telling me, that they were protecting him. At least two, sometimes two craft are always flying. He's flying in his plane as protection. And of course, here's the image in the, at some point got a little closer to the camera, or it kind of slowed down maybe. But sometimes it was moving really fast. If only the film could really pick it up. There's again one more. This plane is coming into land right now. So I just wanted to, there it is down there, just to show this as verification of, I don't know where it is in this one, but this was just starting to land again. Anyway, so that's, oh, here it is. Yeah, this is much more distinct. Yeah, so anyway, there's all interesting when you really pay attention and you happen to come across, it's just like when 9/11 happened. That's all interesting. Because I was told that there was more than 3,000 people in the building that day. I was told the vast majority of those people got beamed up off the planet. I know that sounds really outlandish. And I was also told that some of the individuals, they couldn't beam up in the ship. They beamed outside the building onto the streets, wherever that was. And sure enough, this fireman who was on his way up the stairs when the building started to collapse, next moment, he finds himself standing out. He was interviewed actually in CNN. Of course, today they would deny it, but distinctly, I've talked to more than one person who saw the firemen being interviewed, and because they have to report, they have to fill out reports and where were they at certain times. And he specifically said he cannot account for the building collapsing down suddenly. He's down on the street. He should have died a second later. And so that was kind of verifying that sense that eventually these people are going to come back and verify that there was divine intervention that took place. So there's been all kinds of cases like this. I've heard of cases of airliners where they recovered the plane, but there's nobodies or hardly anybody's on the plane. You can't account for it. The movie came out many times. Truth is presented in fiction form called Millennium, where beings in the future were coming back to rescue people off the plane. So here was truth presented in fictional form, verifying sometimes things that we tune into, even though it may be presented in fictional format. The idea that's presented is kind of a synchronicity because of the way at which things are, shown or you experience in life. It's kind of verification for the knowledge, information that you receive, intuitive or higher being giving that to you over and over again. This has happened. So anyway, I think that is. Oh, now here's an interesting image. Take a look at this.
Yeah.
The energy now. Whether this is an actual image or composite, I blew it up and I couldn't find it didn't really appear to be. I have been told that Trump has had physical contacts. He's met with ETs, and he's going to be releasing all this information as we go into, once he gets reelected in 2024, we're going to be, all kinds of stuff is going to be revealed. And I mean, I was picking up awesome energy from this individual that I feel he is definitely an ET. And then this Ezra, who was the head of Israel's space security program for nearly 30 years, told the Israeli newspaper that the cooperation between the U.S. and the Galactic Federation includes an underground base on Mars. And to the President Trump is aware of the aliens and was close to revealing the truth. Anyway, so I thought this was an awesome image. Energy between both of them was kind of representing the real sense of who he is and what is going to be happening here shortly. We have to go through a little rough storm. Storm is on us right now to wake everybody up. Well, and so over the next few years, we're going to go into a much better time because all the stuff will have been revealed. All the military tribunals will be gone for the next 2 or 3 years, sentencing all these people, corrupt Hollywood, everywhere. No one is going to escape justice. Not one soul will be able to fall through the cracks because the higher forces have been backing the Earth Alliance. They're downloading information. They know where everybody is on the planet. And when all the illegal aliens coming, Earth aliens coming into the United States, they know where everybody is, but they're using this to red pill everybody. The child pedophile thing has been exposed. That the movie just came out, Sound of Freedom, that really exposes that crime. People need to acknowledge it so we can move on. If we put our head in the sand and pretend it isn't going on, we still have to deal with stuff. But if we can deal with it in a mature, responsible type of wisdom, we can forgive, but we're not going to forget. So history will never repeat itself. We've learned a lot of lessons like discernment. And so that's most as far as the visual things that I wanted to share with everybody. So, oh, it's almost 4:30 now. Anyway, is there any questions?
Oh, awesome. Thank you, Michael, for sharing all that. Hey, you lonely hearts out there.
What's that?
You have a chance to have your twin flame from the
that's what I wanted to
say.
I wanted to say, as we come to the end of this presentation, there's so much more I could have shared. The whole thing that Celeste and I, our passion is to help other divine couples. Instead of going on Match.com and Earth dating, it's very toxic. Time to date off planet. It really is to forget the toxic Earth relationship. I think everybody, and I can tell you since being with Celeste, I said this earlier, I am so spoiled now. I'm so blissed out with her. There's absolutely no possibility I'd ever be interested in dating any Earth woman. That is for sure. And it's just been the most awesome time of my entire life being with her. Just total bliss out. So anyway, it's incredible. So once a person reads the book, we recommend you read the 700 pages. It's encoded, as we said, certain energy. And then Celeste and I wrote up a 20-page instruction manual. You want to learn a little more detail about protocols to connect with your beloved. Now, there may be a few individuals who meet their other half on Earth, but majority of the volunteers, their other half is off planet. They're getting ready. They want to come down now to connect. And I think, there's a lot of misconceptions about things that happen in ancient times. And like there's a saying in the Bible, it's a little controversial and provocative, perhaps, but I believe this is true. In the Bible, a lot of these theologians, because when you remember the Council of Nicaea in the early 4th century, manipulated. There were 777 books, and they only referred to 66 of them. 711 of them they totally ignored. Well, even the 66 they used to make the Bible, they edited it severely. I could say that with beginning, it was the word of God, but then man got a hold of it. These corrupt, sexually repressed priests who projected their imbalances in everyone else. Wonder why they all became child pedophiles when they do that? It's because we're not following natural law. And so anyway, so there's a point in the Bible where the sons of God. Now, this is the theologians say this is an example of fallen angels. I don't believe that because I have memory of being with Celeste back in the early time of golden age of Lemuria, where these are these giant rainbow crystal cities. I mean, crystal temples, and the crystal was alive. These were gigantic tantric oracle rainbow crystal temples. It made the tantric temples of India look really small, and these temples were built over the vortex points on the planet. And that was when the nirvanic ecstasy grid was in place. And the dark forces didn't like that, so they destroyed it and brought in the matrix to keep us stuck in the illusionary state. So the divine couples would come together in these temples, and they would anchor the nirvanic exegrid and bring in this incredible energy onto the planet. And we're going to go back to that eventually. But I remember being in those temples, and the most incredible experience you can imagine. And that was what anchored the nirvanic exegrid on the planet. These divine couples being intimate in a very powerful way created balance on the planet. And then the dark forces came in. But anyway, this incident where they say the sons of God looked upon the daughters of man and found them fair, I don't feel the way they interpret it is accurate. I feel that this was an example of higher beings who were coming down to visit their other half in these temples, very sacred places, and they were having some R&R. it was a very sacred, beautiful thing. Instead, they put a spin on the whole thing to make it look like it was something entirely different than what it really was. So I read the book after when Jesus Sananda appeared to me, when I was not right after appearance. It was a very profound experience. He physically materialized near me, and I relived, and I remember being near the tomb when he got beamed out of the tomb. And what's fascinating is Andrew Bouchargo, who was part of Project Pegasus, where the children were traveling through time. He said they learned how to videotape. They videotaped the crucifixion and the resurrection. Wow. And the memory I had of that life, when I was standing near the tomb and I saw the Roman guards around, I saw the light ship come down, the Dove it was called. It was from the city of New Jerusalem. That's a giant mothership, 1,500 miles across, that Jesus Sananda's cosmic name, came and hovered, shot this beam down, and I'm looking into the tomb, and I see Jesus Yeshua sit up, and he tosses the shroud aside with his image superimposed as proof of his existence. And then he's beamed up, and a moment later he comes back. He goes through a time-space warp, comes back with two of his crew members that are angels, quote, and I see a flash in the tomb. Well, Andrew Bouchargo is talking about how his father saw the video of the resurrection, and they talk about the flash of light in the tomb, verifying what I was seeing in my psychic vision when Jesus appeared to me and took me back to that time. And he also was married to Mary Magdalene. She was his other half. That's one thing they did, is they twisted the whole divine goddess thing. The patriarchal priest didn't like the divine feminine goddess aspect, so they repressed it and made her into a prostitute. But she was a divine goddess. And when Leonardo da Vinci painted the Last Supper, that's her, not John Divine in the image.
Awesome.
I just wanted to share that.
Yeah. Awesome. Actually, Iroka has written in the chat if you could make a match, intergalactic match.
Well, the thing is, you read the book, and then if you want to get a little more detail, I'll be glad to send the 20-page instruction manual. But you can get it at Celeste on my website. There's a link to go to Amazon where you can order either the paperback version or the Kindle ebook version. So read that. And then if you want to get a little more detail, I'll send you the 20-page instruction manual of certain protocols you use so that you can interface with your other half in such a way. I can say to you, it's the most profound experience with Celeste.
So there is hope for lonely hearts out there. There is hope.
Yeah, like that song, Looking for Love in All the Wrong Places. I mean, it's time to get out of this Earth dating level and go off planet. My God. My goddess. And of course, Celeste, well, she can help. She wants to connect all the divine couples. She's she's part of the Love Ops. That's part of the Federation, the organization that specifically now. See, when they bring the divine couples together, this corroborates AI. Negative I cannot handle the love between twin flames. It's powerful. It's like a secret weapon against AI. If it's trying to be abused, it can't handle the divine energy of twin flame couples because it is profound, sacred, it's incredible, it's transformative. And all I can say is I feel like in my 20s or 30s. So Celeste has been with me. It's been a profound journey. And it's incredible what's going to be happening as we continue on this journey. So
Michael, I have a question. There's still the interdimensional calibration problem that you have between you and Celeste. That's why she's manifesting
what are you saying?
Hearts in the water shapes and all that to you. Why couldn't she? If we could see the spaceships that are protecting Trump in the physical, why couldn't Celeste manifest herself physically to you?
There are a lot of things that, quote, they are not authorized temporarily to do. Like because we're having a multidimensional relationship, she's not authorized to physically materialize for me. I mean, I fantasize about that, but we and I are having a multidimensional relationship. And when you're doing that, you have to go by the protocols of that particular first contact scenario. And eventually she will physically manifest for me, but not right now. We have to finish up this last opportunity to have a multidimensional. What can we learn from a multidimensional romantic relationship that you don't learn from an Earth relationship?
Yeah, I mean,
and anyone out there, the time is going to run out, but for those who want to experience it, read the book, intergalacticmatch.com. And then you want to get the 20-page protocols, you know, things like using a pillow to connect. When Ariely did, he specialized. What he did, one of the protocols is to have Ariely to do an image of your other half. What you do is you blow it up 3 feet tall, laminate it, put it on the wall, and that becomes a portal. He or she will manifest through that. And then also they have the ability to come through the pillow. When I'm hugging the pillow, I mean, it's like I'm total bliss out. Because it's like almost like physically hugging her. Literally, it energetically becomes that.
Yeah, seriously speaking, so when the landings are happening, that's the time when we have already evolved, our species would then evolve to a certain extent that the light body is able to like go on par with the other dimensional reality.
Yes.
Then you'll be able to meet physically. Is that how it's going?
Definitely. Well, we're going now from 3D to 5D. Our bodies are changing from carbon-based to crystalline, silicon. We are changing. And our DNA RNA is going to be upgraded to 12 stranded, eventually 24 strand. And all the so-called junk matter is not junk matter. Like the so-called dead zone in our brain is not dead. It's we don't use 90% of our brain capacity, but we're going to very soon do that. See, the Kabbalah has been numbing and dumbing us out. That's what they do with children. You know, and they did intelligence tests with children at a very young age. They had genius ability. Once they go through the typical school, they're all numbed and dumbed out. Really, they lose their IQ ability. See, Nikola Tesla, one of the greatest people who ever lived, greatest inventor, he was incredibly developed in his right brain and left brain. He was very analytical in the left brain as a scientist, but in the right brain, he was very intuitive, psychic, and spiritual. And he was friends with Westinghouse. They would sit and they would talk about all kinds of things. And that one thing I was told at one point, they were at some place where there was snow and they used their mind and they melt like the monks do. They melt the snow around them with their consciousness. And then there's a book called Spaceship X-12, The Wall of Light. He was brought physically from the planet Venus. He's from Venus and dropped in the doorstep of the priest and his wife, and he grew up on Earth. But he was very oversensitive. A movie that came out years ago called The Secret Life of Tesla talks about him being overly sensitive because of harsh sounds and everything. He had a hard time dealing with the harsh. That's something I have trouble with. You know, when sirens go by, I just go, it drives me crazy because in other worlds, we don't have tense sounds. We have like the celestial music of the spirit. We have beauty. We have things that are not jarring, that are smooth and beautiful to our essence. And being on Earth is incredibly challenging. And that's why we get a lot of hazardous duty pay on these extended tours. But this is the last one. This is it. Liberating the planet.
So you're not allowed to tell us the time frame when it's going to be like crossing the bridge, 4th dimension or the 5th dimension when we are.
They can only give an
approximate automatic process. Is it going to be an automatic?
But remember, like I said earlier, I said there were timeline wars that impacted this time. Now we're coming out of that. And now it's going to get a little more even keel over the next few years. It's going to take a few years before we're out of the worst of the worst. It's going to start rapidly getting better. So, but it's not set in concrete. It's kind of like, think of it like molding clay, cosmic play dough. The more we align our free will with divine will, the more we arise to the occasion, fulfill our missions, the more the higher forces are given mandated authority to step in based on our actions. That's how the prime directive works. And the prime directive has been altered quite a bit. And I would love to do a presentation about how Gene Roddenberry was not the originator of Star Trek. That's a whole interesting story in itself. And he stole the information from a famous contact named Jacques Riviere and took the credit for it. Okay, right. So that's a lot of times people take credit for things and that's not the actual origins of something. So it's a whole fascinating story.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Michael. Over to you, James. James, you seem to have a lot of questions and something to share with Michael here. So you're talking about the USS Eldridge reappearing after disappearing in the Philadelphia experiment. You were saying sometime around August, and you are like renting a house near that is going to reappear. Would you tell us a little bit more about that? You're inviting Michael to join you there? I know you invited me as well.
Yeah,
but
I guess. Yeah, Michael, can you make it? You think you can make it August 12th to Montauk?
No, unfortunately, I don't. You know, I'm stationed here with Celeste until a thing called the RV happens. which one of my missions is to fund global humanitarian projects. So I'm kind of, while I'm busy doing other things, there's some things that I'm kind of waiting for. Once that happens, I have some major plans that I'm going to be doing because I have to have the financial means to get some of these projects, funded. And then I'm going to have the
Michael, the
ability to go
RV is
anywhere.
going to really happen. Did Celeste say that? And can you tell
What's
us
that?
the time frame?
Are you
Sure.
asking me? What?
Yeah, I want to, can I share my screen?
Sure.
Okay. All right, let's see here. Hold on. Got so many things open. All right, so the portal opens up. Is it not? I have
This
show-
is your time, folks.
Okay,
Well, I
I'll
was
just have to
told
share
that
my
the
own
USS
screen.
Eldridge appeared like 13 times or something. Like if you use the
Oh, I see.
analogy of
Show all
throwing a
engines.
stone across the river and it bounces, like the stream represents the time stream. So it's like the Eldridge kind of bounced across the time stream.
Okay.
Okay, so the Eldridge is hooked up to a portal that started up, and can you all see this screen?
Yeah, I see it.
Okay,
Yes,
tonight from 1943, the Philadelphia experiment took place in the Philadelphia harbor, and
Right.
that was August 12th in 1943. So
Right.
every 20 years, this portal seems to reopen, and
Yeah, I heard that it does. But and of course, Al Bielek, because of the Montauk thing, where he said he was involved in some of the experiments with the children and that creature that appeared. It was kind of like, it was almost looked like a Bigfoot, but it was kind of that it was like the combination of the darkness and fear that had been built up through some of the trauma that they went through, and they were trying to create these children to become more psychic. And so it was like this creature is there. And then I don't know, I've heard all kinds of stories about.
Okay.
I met a lot of these guys who were part of the Montauk
exactly.
program.
So every 20 years. So the last time the portal opened up was August 12th of 2003. And that's where the Northeast blackout. I don't know if anybody remembered, but there was a blackout on Thursday, August 14th. So so we're going to be there probably to the 15th or 16th for some people. And but yeah, we're going to go there near the portal.
That'll be
maybe
interesting.
do a video.
Yeah.
So
yeah, that'll be interesting to see if we see anything visually. Because the timeline changing around, like I said, more and more of the light coming in, that can affect a number of past events as far as how it plays out in the present timeline. There can be time loops, time quakes, all kinds of things can happen that, as things become more solidified, as the light forces gain more control over timeline again, and all the things that were byproducts of what the dark forces did, that is transmuted and goes away. So it's always interesting to see what exactly does happen once we get to that point in the timeline.
Understood. Yeah. So I wanted to share that. So if you want to come to that event, maybe I can.
Well, I
share
appreciate the invitation, but I just don't. It's hard for people to understand. I'm kind of. I use the word stuck here, but I'm glad I'm here. I'm here with Celeste. I'm not supposed to really leave this area until the RV happens, basically, because of my mission at that point.
When the RV, if it does happen, then we'll all be there with you, James.
Okay, well, I'll be stuck. Okay, understood. So I wanted to mention a few things here. So let's see here. So I heard there will be a false flag nuclear event, but that was supposed to happen like in March or something, in mid-March, and then
Well, it's been moved
market.
up or whatever. I don't know when, but
They
it
keep
seems like
changing the dates.
Yeah, they keep. Well, that's because more and more people are waking up, and the longer they extend it, more people have a chance to. Their time's running out to get people woke up because of the, they've been stuck so long in their head in the MK Ultra control of this, the mind control thing that the cabal had in place, which was taken out finally. But people have been so indoctrinated in the matrix for so long, it's taking a while to get enough momentum to break out of that condition.
Yeah,
Understood.
Hang on a minute, James. Okay, we are not just going as tourists on the sightseeing tour to see the Eldridge.
No, exactly. We're gonna bring. We're bringing experiencers there, people that have been in the Montauk project. Ideally, we like to get Jimmy Payne to be there. We're still looking for someone who can sponsor, but yeah. So I'm gonna put a documentary together. Go ahead.
Well, it's interesting. I have a lot on my plate, so sometimes I forget. And I just remembered now, about 3 months ago, 3 or 4 months ago, when I was about to do another presentation specifically on time travel for this other connecting consciousness in the organization. And I was going back to review some of my notes, and all of a sudden I could feel, see, I forget the year that Al Bielek passed on to the higher realms, but I felt his presence come in around me. It's like his higher extraterrestrial self, and he was telling me, he was referring to the DNA RNA aspect of who he was. So when he appeared at Montauk and met Dr. John von Neumann, it was one of the chief people involved in that whole program. Tesla was originally involved, but decided not to partake in it because he felt he would be responsible for the crew. He didn't want to hurt them. And so, but anyway, he was told he had to go back. They sent him back to be aboard the USS Eldridge to destroy the generator that was creating a hyperspace bubble on it. And but he came back a few months ago. I feel his presence, and he was basically saying to me that he had come back, that his DNA RNA, that he went back and infused his DNA RNA into what was happening at that time, because our DNA RNA does interface with physical material things if it's activated a certain way. So that changed something around, and I don't know how that'll affect what you're going to be experiencing or what you're going to see. I have no idea. We never know exactly sometimes, but I just feel like what he said to me was very important, that there was a change that happened compared to what happened years before that allowed the light energy to come in and infuse in such a way it kicked the cabal out of the timeline, so to speak, from what they had been originally trying to do. That was kind of what I got the message for. So that'll be interesting to see how if there's any relevance to that or what. I have no idea. But anyway.
Michael, would you be willing to come on my show? We can discuss what you know about that.
Yeah, I would be glad
project.
to do that.
Okay.
And also, have you seen that photograph I'm talking about of Andrew Bouchargo in 1863?
Yes.
Okay, that's an interesting photo. Because again, that was the significance of that. Because you look at the photo very carefully, you see a little shadow. See, a lot of the movies that have come out, reality presented in fiction form, like Time Traveler's Wife. Now, in that movie, the guy loses his clothes. Well, Andrew Bouchargo said every time he'd make the jump, he would literally lose his clothes sometimes. So he ends up in 1863 from 1972, it was really cold. And so this cobbler guy comes up to him and says, "What are you doing naked out here?" So he takes him to his shop, gives him the smallest clothes he can find, and the shoes were adult shoes. So he stuffs newspapers into the shoes. Well, when the photographer, this famous, famous photographer, as Andrew Bouchargo, you do facial recognition on him. That's him at 9 years of age. Okay, that's interesting in itself. But if you look, there's a little bit almost shadow. He was just about to make the jump back to 1972. The photographer. So in that timeline, he would have disappeared from everybody.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah, there's a lot more about that. Things I know about that.
Do you know about the chronovisor?
A little bit, not that much. I've heard him talk about it a lot and stuff, but I don't remember all the technical aspect about that. To describe exactly how it works and everything. But he explained it. There was some holographic aspects. There were like 4 different types of time travel protocols that was used for him to travel. In fact, one of the times when he was sent back, he met George Washington, and when George Washington was camped by the Potomac. Now, when George Washington wrote in his diary that this angelic being shows up, that was actually Andy showing up, and he told him, "You've got to move your troops because the British are coming in." That's an historical event, and so he did. He moved the troops, so there are a lot of interesting things about what happened at that time.
Jimmy Payne says that he was flying U-2 planes out of Beals Air Force Base in California, and they would go through a portal and take high altitude photography of troop movements during the Revolutionary War and the Civil War. So yeah, we essentially lost that war.
Well, according to when Al Bielek told me, he regressed a number of people under hypnosis, and he said that the timeline changed a number of times. In the original timeline, the South won, not the
Jimmy talks about that too.
In World War II, the Axis won, not the Allies. That was changed.
So I've done a video. I actually went.
Gettysburg was the battle that changed the timeline.
So Jimmy said that the Gettysburg Address was written in Montauk. And he also said that, yes, the South won the Civil War. He actually went back in time to meet Jefferson Davis, the president of the Confederate States. And that was the day when his son crawled out the window and died. So he wasn't able to meet him. But he said that in the original organic timeline, we never had, when the South won the Civil War, Jefferson Davis freed all the slaves immediately after the war was over. And then the South never had a Federal Reserve Act or IRS. We continue to have gold-backed currency like the Constitution dictates, and people had a lot more money. They just didn't have a lot of technology. So in the period of today, it's equivalent to the 1960s in that timeline.
Well, also back in the late 70s, early 80s, I was told that agents went around to a lot of the archives because they found people dressed in clothes that shouldn't have been there. We have incidents of this right now. There's one photograph where the guy is among the crowd, and it looks like he's dressed in something that doesn't correspond to the time. It's like 1920, 1930, and he has this kind of dark glasses on, and it looks like he's holding a cell phone in his hand. And so there's instances like that. So so when I was told that, Ashar had said to me, well, they didn't get all the images. They're still, so when I met Andrew Bouchard, he's talking about this image, it's kind of correlating to that there's other images like that.
I mean, it's interesting, but we could do another session,
Yeah,
like
we could.
forum on time travel, on the pornography or whatever you call it, James. So anyway,
yeah, right there. That's an
because
interesting.
it's getting late here in Europe. We need to close soon. Yeah, if not, I think Fres, you might want.
Yeah, I'm going to have to take I don't have a pilot's tube, unfortunately. So I'm going to have to take a break.
Yeah,
Can I just make one more quick comment, please?
Yeah.
I'll quickly go through it. So Jimmy Bain confirmed that the Enterprise is real, that he supposedly slept with Spock's niece or something like that. And Vulcans are real, but they're like 4 foot tall or 4.5 feet tall. So yeah, and it's part of the Space Navy. And when it flew over Phoenix when it's the 1998 when they had the Phoenix Light incident, that's when people saw the edge of the Enterprise. So but
yeah, James, we could organize another session for time travelers experiences. That would be great.
I think we need to bring Jimmy Payne on here and he can talk about the chronovisor.
That would be so cool.
Are you familiar with
Michael can come back and participate in the forum?
Yeah, there's also this Time Corps. There's about 300 guys who are the most intelligent guys on the planet who actually belong. They're like Time Lords, but they are operating in a separate level of reality to guardian over the timeline. They were given this responsibility to stop I got to run to the bathroom right now. I'm about to ballast tank. I really have to do it.
Well,
can I go right now? I'll be right back.
So
Supposedly,
Pontus. Go ahead, Pontus.
Pontus.
Yes.
Pontus.
Yeah.
Go to your Mega account and bring up the link I sent you, if you would, please.
Okay. We'll try.
Mega.
And also, did you see the pictures of the giant Secret Service agents?
Yeah, why don't you
Yes.
share screen now?
It's coming up.
James, yeah.
Okay. Let me see if I can actually share my screen.
Pontus has got it. Pontus has got it.
Pontus, you want to share? You want to download those?
He's got it. He's got
Okay.
it. Pontus has got it.
Moment.
Look like you're able to save them. I saved those 3
Hey,
images.
Scott.
Cool. Yeah.
I thought you would chip in, chirp in. I mean,
So I have some information about that.
go on then.
They are observers, so their job is to reset the timeline in case of nuclear war.
Oh,
So they look. Apparently, they're invisible to the naked eye, but they show up on the camera. So I have no idea why anyone would try to release it. Maybe they didn't really know what the heck's going on. It just gets out there on the internet. But
I
let's
think
see
we're
here.
getting close now, James.
Let's see. I share.
Did you find it, Pontus?
It takes time. We're not
Yeah,
having that bandwidth.
Let James
okay.
share screen first.
You see it?
Pontus.
Do you see my screen?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so we got a giant guy over here.
Can you
to the
zoom in a
left.
bit, James? Zoom in. Cool. Yes.
So apparently this guy was visible to the naked eye, but you can see right here. I
Oh
mean,
my God, he's like twice as high.
yeah, he's
Oh.
probably, I don't know, 12 feet tall, maybe.
Yeah. Looks
Could
like
be.
that. How come nobody's shocked?
Like I said, I don't think people can see it, and you can see this guy's even huge. He's way behind these other guys. And this is
Oh,
Trump
you
on
mean it's
horse.
invisible to the naked eye, but it's manifesting in the digital photography.
Right. Let's see if this is. Here's the other one. You can see this guy. And this is the.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, the observer over here.
He is huge.
Awesome. Yeah.
Yeah.
Why are they so big? Why are they so huge?
Well, you know,
Another
the
dimension.
human race on planet Earth is like a slave species, so we were designed to be inferior to them. They wanted us to be smaller, so that they're bigger people, so they can dominate us. I mean, but anyway, and plus our DNA has been damaged through what Kusal actually said it was a virus that damaged the reason why we don't live to be 1,000 years like they in the early part of the Bible is a virus. But I don't know if you want to believe Kusal. Anyway.
Like back. Yeah.
That's a
Well,
very
Kusal
valid
has
source of
come through.
information there.
Yeah.
So,
Michael,
here.
yes.
There we
Wow.
go.
Yeah, here we go.
What's this?
James is
That's
sharing screen on the stuff.
this guy right here,
talking about-
the
yeah.
Andromedan.
Andromedan?
Yeah,
Mhm.
and his
So
eyes.
they have to wear
right?
glasses.
Yeah, he has
His
to wear,
eyes hurt-
well,
sun hurt him.
well, he kind of, but it's his eyes, as they say, when he went into court, that was like 2 months ago, they blew it up. His eyes were moving around in a way that anatomically, we cannot, as humans, move our eyes that way. He was looking, I felt he was peering into other levels, dimensions.
Mm,
So anyway, it's quite a fascinating.
Fun and James.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay.
Do you wanna go to the next picture before Pontus is sharing?
This is,
I'm
yeah, this
sharing.
is
Yes,
Pontus'
sharing, I'm
share.
sorry. Okay,
Press, yeah.
press.
Yeah, this is the one I had, I sent you. What's interesting is the camera angle on this. The gentleman in behind is
Yeah.
considerably taller than President Trump,
Mm,
considerably taller.
Oh, yeah.
mm.
So, yeah, Pontus is sharing that one. And then James had the other pictures, which were
Yeah,
fun.
Fun and James. Mm. 'Cause
You
it's
have
so-
the ones though that show the his ridges in his ears and this was a black and white version for some reason. And then his eyes, and he didn't have the glasses on and they were moving around in a weird way. That was really interesting.
Fun and James, more pictures. We're waiting.
You're muted.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think I have anything. But I wanted to ask Michael, do you have any information about that? Those videos that are coming out of Brazil where the lady's holding the sword and they're announcing the RV has taken place. Do you know what I'm talking
When no, not right off. When did you hear that?
It just came out like in the last 2 or 3 days. It's been
Well,
spread
it's very
so long.
possible that on some areas of the planet, there was like a pre-activation thing that sets the stage for some other things. I've been hearing for a number about the last few years, certain predictions about when it's going to happen. And really, I don't know. I think maybe God is changing God's mind. Maybe even God or divine creator might say, maybe I'll change my mind. Maybe I'll make it a little bit later, give more people a chance to whatever, because God has that power to do that. I don't know, maybe because there's even divine creation is growing and learning in a way that, even though omnipresent in all times, there's still this sense of things happening. Like I picked up recently, last year or so, there's an energy coming onto the planet. If you were to interpret the energy, it would be like, you're going to enjoy life whether you like it or not. In other words,
Okay,
you're
if I
gonna
may
get out of
ask,
suffering because your conscious
can
will allow you to stay there.
Michael, can we keep
Yeah.
each other in the loop? Here, who are present here, James, Michael, everyone here, keep each other in the loop. If you hear the RVs happening, we only.
Well, you'll know. It's going to be all over the internet. Because they're
Yeah.
supposed to put a website out with 800 numbers, and then you call, set up an appointment, and you have your, managing global projects kind of on a couple 3 pages, and very brief, and you go in there and you do the exchange. I mean, it's not, and I know there's been different aspects. I've heard various different views about that, and they all basically agree that when that happens, they will send out the website that has the 800 numbers, and you'll call, set up an appointment. But the one thing is for sure, until the resident, the actor pretending to be Biden, is out of there, it's not going to happen. That's
Right.
one of the things. And you know, so a lot of things have to happen first, water under the bridge before they can have the RV happen, because we have to get rid of, make sure that not one, you know, corrupt, evil person can be a participant in. They have to clear, that's why the military tribunals will probably have to first leave some of them, and then that one person are they going to allow. And then when you go in there, the quantum computer they're using is going to scan you, and it's going to make sure one last test, make sure that you are the light, and part of the exchange rate is going to be kind of decided upon based on the consciousness level of who you are. I don't think it's like set in foundry. I think it has to do. I heard that it's 1-to-1. That every currency on the planet is going to be backed by something of anistic value. Gold, it could be oil, it could be diamonds. It doesn't like Zimbabwe, you know, which are bonds. There's always something that will be used as, but it will be 1-to-1. Because as we leave the central banking system, we go into the quantum financial system. We're going to go back. Income tax is going to go away right away. Also, you know, so Star will be activated fully, and but it's a question of timing. It really is. It's one of those things that will never happen again. So there's no do-over. Yeah, you can't do it over like, oh, cut. We're gonna do this scene over again. This movie is much more perfect than
Hollywood.
that.
Right.
Yeah, Hollywood is being played. 90% of Hollywood is now. Most of them are at Gitmo or whatever, because they're all guilty of crimes against humanity. That's just how it is. And,
Hey, Michael.
yeah.
So happy you got your divine compliment in Celeste.
Yeah, she's sitting right here.
Enjoying it so much. I can see so much happiness in your face. So lonely hearts out there.
Well, for all the relationship, the few relationships I had, I mean, one of them was extremely toxic for 25 years, and I'm not going to have that repeated. Now it's like night and day now. I mean, Celeste, you know, when you're, very few humans have ever experienced in modern time what is unconditional romantic love really like. It is so profound, it is so beautiful, it's so, I mean, words, if you try to use words like incredible and awesome, that falls short. How awesome it actually is. There's no way to really describe it except it's just total bliss out, nirvanic bliss out.
Wonderful. We're so happy. We feel your happiness. Anyway, folks, I think it's late here in Europe now, and
what time is it over there right now?
Yeah, we have to drive home, and it's really late. It's 11 p.m. here, so I think
5 o'clock here, 5 p.m. here.
Yeah, it's come to a close now, Michael. It's so delightful to have you here with us.
Well, I appreciate being invited.
Your happiness is infectious. It rubs on so fast and hard. Iroka say, me please next. Me next.
Well, the important thing is to read the book. That's kind of part of the activation to get you attuned to the reality. And then the 20-page, page instruction manual really kind of kicks it more into high gear. So you got to do that. It's one of the steps.
Yeah, Iroka, read Michael's book and Celeste's book, okay? And I will be communicating with you through email or whatever, Iroka. Thank you. Sorry, I have been busy. I couldn't reply you, but I will do so soon, okay? So, folks, prayers, unless you have any last say, Enrique Pontus, before we close.
No, nothing from me. Thank you very much.
And thank you, James, for your input. And
it was nice connecting there, and I'll be glad to hear what happens after your trip to over there to
USS Eldridge, James. We want a report after you've been there and seen it surface again, and what kind of advanced technologies have come out. And if you could grab some for FESIG, that'd be great.
Okay. Yeah, I'll see what we can do.
Cool. Thank you, brothers and sisters, for staying through with us tonight. Hours of interesting talk. Thank you. So there being no other business, this 114th FESIG meeting is now adjourned to the 115th meeting, and that will be on the 2nd of August. Okay, not 6th, 2nd. Yeah, you remember. Thank you so much. Thank you, Henrik, for hosting this meeting at your lovely apartment, serving us dinner and dessert and tea. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Thank
Thank
you,
you.
Press, James, and
Oh,
everyone,
take care.
Scott, and everyone present.
Mhm.
Michael, thank
Right.
you.